A skeleton is a type of physically manifested undead often found in fantasy, gothic, and horror fiction and mythical art. Most are human skeletons, but they can also be from any creature or race found on Earth or in the fantasy world. Here are the 7 most terrifying skulls discovered in the world. Number 7. Rodopi Skull. This skull was found in the Rodopi Mountains in Bulgaria by a man from Plovdiv, a city located goes miles 150 kilometers southeast of the capital city of Sofia. The man, who chose to remain anonymous, discovered the skull buried alongside a small elliptical metal object. His interesting story began after having a dream in which 5 humanoids wearing yellow metallic clothes directed him to a spot in the Rodopi Mountains, near the border between Bulgaria and Greece. On the 21st of May 2001, he headed to the spot the strangers had indicated, and surely enough, the skull was there. His finding generated a lot of excitement and controversy, and many ufologists considered it evidence for the existence of aliens and their presence on Earth. He initially presented his find to a narrow circle of people interested in the paranormal, but the skull did not remain secret for long. The skull was examined by archaeologist Katya Malamet of the Bulgarian Academy of Sciences and by Professor Dimitar Kavochev, the director of the Paleontology Museum at Asanovgrad. Both of them have said they have never seen anything like it before. The skull is as small as a human baby's, but its bone structure is lighter and thinner and weighs only 250 grams, 8.8 ounces. It has 6 cavities that researchers think belong to the alien's sensory organs. When alive, this being possessed 6 eyes or perhaps other completely unknown organs. Interestingly, it had no mouth hole where we would expect to find one. Professor Kavochev is positive it is not a fossil and does not resemble any humanoid skull known to science. We couldn't find any analogy or correlation with anything from the past 30 million years, Kavochev said. Skeptics believe the skull belonged to a still unidentified animal species, although its features do not resemble those of any other animal. Skeptics, on the other hand, believe that the Rodopi skull is just another elaborate hoax, or that it might have belonged to a species that remains unidentified. Number 6. Mummified Skull. There are suspicions the objects could be an elaborate hoax, as the non-exact location of the find or details of who discovered them has been released. Author Brian said, "I don't know what to say and look forward to the possibility of seeing more specimens." The head appears to be made of bone with skin over the top. It has 2 eyes, but eyes it is nothing like a human. It is more amphibian or reptilian. The mouth seems to be so tiny that it does not even appear to be for feeding. It is a very mysterious thing, and I can't imagine how these 2 specimens could be fake. This image of the underside of the skull indicates that this artifact is bone, about 3 to 5 millimeters thick, and still has a stiff, gray, skin-like material attached to it. Note the very narrow foramen magnum aperture where presumably a very thin vertebral system once entered the skull. Though easy to state that it is a complete fake, the caretaker and those that presumably found it along with other specimens have no access to artisans or taxidermists that could have made them. The caretaker removed some of the bone from the underpart of the skull and exposed what is presumably marrow. This, as well as the bone and skin, can be sampled for DNA and radiocarbon testing in prominent laboratories in North America that we are working with already. He was involved in DNA tests, which allegedly confirmed the 3,000-year-old Paracus elongated skulls did not have human DNA. This is a short alien, so they are small. Does that make them existing impossible? The shortest human in the world was 21.5 inches. Did he exist? Of course he did. And of course, intelligence aliens can too. Number 5. Elongated Skulls. The mysterious skull is eerily similar to other skulls that have been discovered thousands of kilometers to the north in Paracas, Peru. According to the information provided by the newspaper El Mercurio, the skull was revealed in an archaeological site located on the island of El Alacran. This area was detected last October when other lithic remains were discovered by experts. The date of the skull has still not been confirmed, but experts argue it dates back around 1,000 years, thanks to other artifacts that were recovered alongside it. The elongated skull, currently housed at the Council of National Monuments of Chile, will undergo further studies to accurately determine its age and origin. The Paracas skulls discovered in Paracas, Peru, are perhaps the most famous specimens of elongated skulls discovered in South America. While many people have connected the strange shape of elongated skulls to supernatural powers and even aliens, the truth is that for thousands of years ancient humans practiced artificial skull elongation. The idea that elongated skulls are either part of a lost human species, aliens, or something entirely different has made the subject so popular in recent years. However, elongated skulls aren't something new, and head binding, the process through which ancient cultures would achieve artificial skull elongation, has been present since before written history. Number 4. Reptilian Skull. One of these species has been described as a humanoid reptile because of its appearance with terrestrial reptilian species. About 10 specimens have been studied by the Cusco Institute between 2017 and 2018. The following anatomical features are noted. The 3-fingered hands and feet are not distortions listed in the modern medical literature in the event of possible congenital diseases. The skeletons of the hands and feet are anthropomorphically correlated. Macrocephalic skulls show no evidence of artificial mechanical pressure to produce this elongation. This species does not have any dentition or eye flag, no hair at all. The neck may be retractable. The body have neither mammary glands nor umbilical scar to attach this species to mammals. The number of ribs is variable following specimens from 8 to 11. The specimens studied by the Cusco Institute team measured between 47 centimeters and 60.5 centimeters. This species has an oval-shaped macrocephalic head lengthened towards the back, larger at the front. Its front part is ended with a pointed form. The upper part of the skull has 3 ridges or crests without any hair. Neither nasal septum nor ear flag are observable, but X-rays showed a middle ear internal. The foramen magnum or occipital foramen is square shape. No other listed terrestrial species has this anatomical feature. It is located in the second cranial fossa in the center of the base of the skull and not on the rear floor as with Homo sapiens or gorilla. The humanoid reptiles discovered at Nazca has differences in its anatomical structure. No radius, ulna, or carpal bone, which implies by evolutionary homology that it does not share any common ancestors known on Earth. Number 3. Humanoid Skull. This is one of the most mysterious fossilized humanoid skulls found in Africa in 2010. Although the external size and size of the brain's cavity are similar to those of modern humans, it is 12,000 years old. This means that this humanoid is much larger than any older human skulls on the planet, including Lucy or Artie, the oldest known humanoid to date, 4.4 million years ago. South Africa plays a central role in the history of paleoanthropology. Anthropologists and other scientists of the 19th and early 20th century balked at the possibility that Africa was humankind's homeland, until an ancient hominid was unearthed in South Africa in 1924. Since then, Africa has become the center of human evolution fieldwork, and South Africa has produced several iconic humanid fossils and artifacts. The most recent major hominid fossil discovery in South Africa is Australopithecus sediba, occurred in 2010. Lee Berger of the University of the Witwatersrand led a team that found 2 partial hominid skeletons at Malapa Cave, dating to nearly 2 million years ago. The skeletons indicate that these hominids had their unique style of walking and spent time both on the ground and in trees. Number 2. The secret of Chile's extraterrestrial skeleton. Scientists have revealed the origins of a mysterious skeleton long thought to have been extraterrestrial. After 5 years of examination, a research team unraveled the genetic makeup of the bizarre specimen found in the Atacama Desert in 2003 and nicknamed Ata. Ata was found during 2003 in the abandoned mining town of La Noria, located in the Chilean region of Atacama. At first, its remains were thought to be ancient, but initial analysis showed that the skeleton was only about 40 years old. This meant that the DNA would remain intact and could be recovered for study. Since its initial discovery, Ata was sold on the black market and eventually passed into the hands of a Spanish businessman. Earlier analysis had demonstrated that the Ata skeleton had plenty of high-quality DNA for modern sequencing technology to unravel. Using cutting-edge techniques, the scientists found rare mutations linked to dwarfism and a variety of other bone and growth disorders. The investigation also revealed 4 genetic mutations presumed to be involved with bone diseases, all of which were previously unknown to science. These mutations are the cause of both Ata's unusual appearance and the premature aging of her bones, which made her appear much older than she really was. When doctors perform analysis for patients and their families, we're often searching for one cause, one super rare or unusual mutation that can explain the child's ailment. But in this case, we're pretty confident that multiple things went wrong, said Dr. Butte. As Atta is definitely not an alien and her remains are probably no more than 40 years old, Dr. Nolan said. Number 1. Strange burial with children wearing helmet. In a burial mound dating back 2,100 years, the scientists found signs of a ritual that has never been seen before. 2 babies were buried wearing helmets made of the skulls of other children. During excavations between 2014 and 2016 in Salango, Ecuador, the remains of 8 infants, 1 child and 2 adults were discovered in 2 small burial mounds. Small artifacts, shells, and stone figurines were found around some of them, in keeping with practices seen in other mounds. But 2 of the infants stood out as peculiar. Their skulls were wrapped in larger skulls, in an apparent burial ritual that's never been seen anywhere else in the world. The first baby was estimated to have been about 18 months old at the time of death. According to the researchers, the skull of an older child aged between 4 and 12 years old had been fitted over the infant's head like a helmet, such that the primary individual's face looked through and out of the cranial vault of the second. There wasn't much space between the 2 skulls, so the team believes that the helmet was placed at the time of burial. A small shell and part of a child's finger bone were also found between the 2 skull layers. The second infant was estimated to have been between 6 and 9 months old, and the original owner of its skull helmet was believed to have been between 2 and 12 years old. The skulls were fairly well preserved, although fragmentary from normal erosion processes escalated with being buried. Sarah Junks, the corresponding author of the study, tells New Atlas the outer skulls had straight edges, suggesting they had been cut, although only 1 cut mark was found. But there's an even grislier twist. The position of some bones of the outer skull suggests that the helmets were processed and likely even fitted over the infants' heads while they were still covered in flesh. What bizarre and terrifying treasures from long-gone ancient civilizations are still hidden in crypts, caves, and deep within the earth? Most archaeologists may spend their days painstakingly brushing sand off pieces of pottery, but occasionally they unearth evidence of the darker side of humanity: cannibalism, sacrifice, mass murder, deadly paranoia about vampires and witches, and even chemical warfare. These 7 archaeological finds of ancient human remains are among the most grisly, frightening, and fascinating. We have spotted many other oldest terrifying skulls of the world that are even scarier than the mentioned above. To know more about them, check out this video.